When the most powerful alien at the Academy decided to publicly shame a human girl, he had no clue he was provoking someone who had already lived through real war. I'm not claiming I predicted what would happen, no one did, but when Krexer chose that Thursday afternoon to make an example of the new human student, the universe clearly decided to enjoy the irony. My name is Thornick. I am, by every measurable standard, an unremarkable student at the Galactic Combat Academy. Average height for my species. Average performance scores. Average instincts, which mostly translate into knowing when to stay silent and avoid danger. And danger was thick in Training Hall 7 that day. The hall itself is enormous, with ceilings high enough to stack cruisers and reinforced flooring stained by decades of combat training. The scent inside is always the same: ozone, sweat, metal, and fear blended with ambition. Around 40 students were present, most of us running drills. Krexer, as usual, was not. He never followed routines. He stood at the center of the sparring ring, over 7 feet tall, covered in dark scales that gleamed beneath the lights. All 4 arms were folded across his massive chest, his crest fully flared in a way that broadcast violence. Krexer had a reputation, and not a good one. 17 students sent to medical in half a year. 0 real punishment. His family's influence ensured that. Then there was Jenna Reeves. Human. 5'6". Light frame. No armor, no natural weapons, no visible threat at all. She had been at the academy 3 weeks and barely registered as a presence. Quiet, reserved, forgettable. And bullies always notice people like that. "Hey, human," Krexer called out, his voice echoing across the hall. Everything stopped. Jenna turned from the weights, her expression blank. Not fear. Not anger. Just stillness. "I've been watching you," he sneered. "You move like prey." She answered calmly, uninterested. That annoyed him. He closed the distance, towering over her, mocking her for never sparring. She declined again quietly. That was when he forced the issue, challenging her publicly, daring her to step into the ring. Students gathered. Some recorded. Others placed bets. No one expected anything except humiliation. The instructor glanced over, noted that the challenge was technically allowed, and did nothing. Jenna hesitated, looked once at the ring, then stepped forward. And that was when I should have realized we were all about to be very wrong. To understand what followed, you need context. Humans had only joined the academy 2 years prior. That was nothing by galactic standards. The institution itself had existed for centuries, producing elite commanders and warriors. Surviving 4 years here meant status anywhere in known space. So when humans were accepted, curiosity quickly turned into skepticism. Their physiology was unimpressive. No claws, no armor, limited strength, and they came from a low-gravity planet. Most of us assumed they were included for political balance rather than combat potential. Krexer, by contrast, was academy royalty. Undefeated in dozens of matches, champion of his home world, backed by immense wealth and influence. No one challenged him unless they wanted a trip to medical. Most of us learned to avoid him. Jenna hadn't avoided him, she'd simply existed quietly enough that he only noticed her now. The sparring circle was 20 feet wide, glowing with a containment field. Krexer entered first, flexing for the crowd, cracking joints, enjoying the attention. He was built like a living siege engine. Then Jenna stepped in. Standard training uniform, no armor, hands taped. She looked fragile by comparison. The audience grew louder. Betting odds were ridiculous. No one expected her to last more than seconds. The instructor finally looked up, finger hovering near the emergency control, then decided to wait. "Begin," he called. Krexer attacked immediately, crossing the distance in 3 strides, for fists crashing down with lethal force. Jenna wasn't there. She slipped aside with minimal movement, like liquid flowing around stone. His strike shattered the mat where she had been standing. Before he could recover, she moved inward, inside his reach, the worst possible place to be against a Vorthian. Her elbow drove into a narrow gap beneath his chest plating. Precision. Krexer staggered, shocked. The room fell silent. He recovered fast, tail swinging toward her head. She ducked cleanly, then struck again, this time into a nerve cluster on his arm. His limb went limp instantly. Confusion spread through the crowd. Krexer roared, furious now, launching rapid strikes that should have overwhelmed her. She avoided everyone. Not by speed but by prediction. She was reading him. The instructor stood, tension visible. Something was wrong. This wasn't luck. This wasn't beginner's instinct. This was experience. Krexer's confusion twisted into rage. His attacks became wild, heavy, desperate. Pride was unraveling. Jenna's expression never changed. focused, almost bored. That was when I realized the truth. She wasn't struggling. She was holding back. Krexer abandoned form entirely, charging with brute violence. Jenna adapted instantly. She rolled under his grasp, kicked the back of his knee, then struck the base of his spine. His tail dropped uselessly. Gasps rippled through the hall. Her fighting style was nothing like academy doctrine. No flair. No ceremony. Just efficiency. Each movement served a purpose. Each strike disabled something critical. She wasn't trying to win. She was dismantling him. Krexer lunged again, injured and furious. She parried, redirected, then struck his throat, hard enough to restrict breathing, not enough to kill. He staggered, gasping. "She has control," someone whispered. The instructor finally moved to intervene, but before the stop could fully engage, Krexer made his worst decision. He grabbed a training blade. The crowd gasped. Weapons were forbidden in unarmed sparring. This crossed every line. Krexer charged. Instead of retreating, Jenna stepped forward. She caught his wrist mid-swing and twisted. There was a sickening crack. The blade fell. Her knee drove into his core, collapsing him. She guided his fall, then struck behind his auditory ridge, disorienting, not lethal. Krexer hit the mat unconscious, bleeding, broken. The containment field dropped. Medical alarms screamed. Drones descended. Security rushed in. Jenna stood still, breathing evenly. Barely marked. When ordered to step back, she complied without resistance. "I said I'd rather not," she stated calmly. Medical teams confirmed severe injuries, but he would live. Security escorted her away. The hall remained silent long after she left. Then the truth came out. Terran Federation Marines. 8 years. Multiple combat deployments. Instructor-level close-quarters combat training. She hadn't come to learn how to fight. She'd come to learn. The Academy's ruling came quickly. Jenna acted in self-defense after a weapon was introduced. No punishment. Krexer, for the first time, faced consequences: suspension, counseling, probation. 2 months later, the ripple effects remain. Jenna still keeps to herself, but no one challenges her now. Not out of fear, out of respect. Krexer returned humbled, quieter, wiser. The Academy itself changed. Instructors paid closer attention to human students. Human martial disciplines were added as electives. Interest exploded. What we learned was unsettling. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Constant conflict forged adaptability, endurance, and ruthless efficiency. They survived without natural weapons by becoming masters of strategy and persistence. We mistook softness for weakness. We were wrong. I graduated shortly after, accepted into a multi-species security firm. During my exit interview, I was asked for advice for new students. "Don't pick fights with humans," I said. "And if one of them says they'd rather not, listen. The galaxy is adjusting. Humans are no longer new. They're integrated into our militaries, our institutions, our future. Small. Unarmored. Deadly." Jenna Reeves tried to avoid that fight. She warned him. When he refused, she taught us all a lesson we won't forget. Never underestimate humanity. On a world where everything wanted them dead, they survived anyway, and became predators through intelligence, resilience, and terrifying restraint. We're lucky they're on our side.